I can't get no call to action, but I try, and I try, and I try, and I try.
Hello and welcome to Call to Action, the go-to podcast for anyone trying to make sense of the world of marketing and advertising. In an industry that is a minefield of utter bollocks, we aim to capture our heroes and allies from the front line to have a chinwag with. It's like Pokemon Go, with the single but vital exception that it's not a short-term bandwagon of shite. It's brought to you by Gasp, and I'm Giles Edwards, co-founder and MD. Today, I've caught Dave Harland, an anti-bullshit copywriter with massive fingers. Dave hails from Liverpool, where he currently works freelance. After an early job as a football reporter, his fascination with writing persuasive copy developed, culminating in him working a 10-year stint at Park Group Plc, where he ended up as head of copy. A massive fan of Liverpool F.C, Partridge and Scrabble, as well as being a talented poet, Dave says, "You could write your own copy. No bother, like I could fit my own kitchen. Just some wooden screws, isn't it? But when my doors fall off and my sink starts leaking, I wish I'd got someone in." Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thanks a lot, Giles. Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Right, quick fire, Dave. So, Mac or PC?
PC for me.
Thinking or writing?
Thinking, definitely.
Fowler or Gerrard?
Oh, tough one, that. I think Fowler, old school.
Monopoly or Scrabble?
Definitely Scrabble, 100%.
Four-fingered Twix or superficially damaged chocolate orange?
Ooh, yeah, superficial damage to the box, definitely.
Roger Moore or Sean Connery?
Sean Connery.
And lastly, inner city sumo or monkey tennis?
Oh, monkey tennis. I had to go naturally into the Partridge accent there. Unavoidable.
So Dave, I know you listen to the pod, which is great. So you probably know the first question, but can you share what your first job was, and equally, what was your first proper copywriting job? How did it all start for you?
Yeah, my first ever job, way back when I was 13 or 14, I think probably 14. It was in Birkenhead Market, which Birkenhead, just the other side of the river from Liverpool, where I grew up. The local market. It was a job that my brother used to have, actually, setting up the job title I've given myself since was Women's Pre-Loved Shoe Stall Erection Executive, which basically was me helping this old couple set up their shoe stall of second-hand women's shoes every Saturday. So I go down in the morning, help them unload the van around about 8:30 in the morning, and set the shoe stall up with them. And then later on that afternoon, go back about 4:00 and help them take it down. So it was just heavy lifting of all of these big hefty shoe boxes off the back of a van, slamming them down onto this metal counter. And that was that, really. Yeah, I used to get £4 for the morning shift, plus tea and toast, which was a little bonus, keep me going. And then, yeah, £4 for the evening one. So that kept me in kind of football, stickers, whatever else I was into at the time. So it was a nice little earner for my age, 13 or 14. So, but I think even at that time, it taught me the guy Arthur who ran the stall. He was into his Crown Green bowls. He used to tell me about nights down the pub with his mates, and he just wouldn't shut up. So I think even at that early age, I was introduced to the randomness of storytelling and just listening to the crazy tales of this guy. I mean, not that was that was the benchmark for where I kind of saw my future, but I definitely I could put up with his boring tales from day one, really. I thought, yeah, I can definitely know how to keep people engaged rather than waffle on like he did.
How did you then get into copywriting?
I did a journalism degree, which really taught me the fundamentals of writing, from researching to different styles, from editorial to sports and things like that. And then after I graduated, I never really did a journalism job at all. It was straight into PR. I started working for a small agency as a football writer, which was journalism to an extent, but then it was only a 3-month job. And then after that, I went back to work for the university where I did my course as the editor of their departmental website, the journalism department website, and then later on the international. So it was straight into PR and persuasive writing to persuade students to come to the university, and it was talking all about the new kit that they had and interviewing students about their time at the university. And even though I didn't know it at the time, because let's face it, 99% of copywriters, they don't start off in it, or they rarely even know what copywriting is. So yeah, I didn't really know it, but I was already doing the persuasive writing, the salesy writing, so to speak.
Going back to the football writing, is that as good as it sounds? I'm a massive football fan, as I think you know, but how was it writing about football?
Yeah, it sounds brilliant, and I'm a huge big Liverpool fan. But it was such a big disappointment. The old leader of my journalism course wangled me an interview at this agency in Manchester, like a month after I graduated, so it was perfect. I was like, I'm doing it. This is great. He knew I was into sport and stuff, so went for the interview. Found out it was I'd be one of 3 writers working on a website for an agency which I think at the time it was Barclaycard. They had the contract from Barclaycard to have some kind of web presence. So I was then one of the 3 writers to provide the stories, the articles for their website. So I was looking after 6 or 7 Premier League teams. Although at the start I thought, this will be me, going to matches and interviewing managers and meeting players. It was basically me just rewriting the Press Association newsfeed. It wasn't anything too glamorous at all. So straight away, it was a little bit deflated. I don't think my face fitted there. Because probably within a month of me starting, my old uni got in touch and they were doing case studies and testimonials and loads of promo for their journalism course that I'd just graduated on a few months prior. And they said, would it be all right if we sent a camera crew round to, oh no, they didn't call it a camera crew. They said, all right, if we send a photographer around just to take a couple of snaps of you in your new job. And then they were going to do all of this, promo of me and a few other graduates talking about all these fantastic journalism jobs that we'd had. So I said, yeah, that's fine, no problem. So it gets to the day, an up rock 6-man camera crew. I'm obviously meant to be getting on with my work. I'd already squared it with the main managing editor earlier that day and said, oh, there's a photographer coming around just to take a couple of snaps at me at my desk. But then they showed up with all of this kit. There was lights, there was backdrops and everything. It's like I was getting my school photo done again. Of course, I'm having to just kind of went over to the managing editor. I just said, "Oh, is it all right if I get that photo done?" And he's like, "Yeah, no worries." But then it was like you're talking 3 hours out of my day. You could just see them all; they were all seething. I'm just like this little junior writer just coming, absolutely taking a piss. Taking 3 hours up my day when I should have been writing about, I don't know, who the latest signer for Coventry City was. There's me just sitting at the front like that, getting my photo done. I think the one positive looking back was that it was probably at the most exciting time the Premier League's ever had. I'd just joined there just as Roman Abramovich had taken over Chelsea. So there was that incredible influx of players to Chelsea. I think it was Damien Duff and maybe Frank Lampard. Yeah.
Joe Cole came in early, didn't
Joe
he?
Cole. And there was about 6 or 7. So every day it was, and I covered Chelsea, so it was great. So every day I was writing about all of these great signings. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was still just me rewriting something from a PA news feed, which looking back, I still think I did, better than the rest, but it wasn't, definitely wasn't the glamour of a football writer's job that I thought it would be.
Yeah, funny enough, a friend of mine covered Charlton Athletic for a few years, and what he's shared with me about that job, I think he did it for 2 or 3 years. It sounds so much better than it is. I mean, I had a stint testing computer games as a student, which everyone thinks sounds awesome, but play, I don't know, Harry Potter on the Game Boy for 7 hours a day and you'll soon change your mind.
Yeah. They often do, don't they, these jobs? They sound great. And then when you actually do it for more than a day, it's like, oh, not again.
Yeah. So how have you become freelance then? How did that happen?
Yeah. So after that football writer's job, did a couple of other jobs in between. becoming a copywriter in house at a company over on the Wirral where I'm from. I think you mentioned at the start, Park Group. So they sell Christmas hampers to a predominantly female audience, and I was brought in as the editor of their customer newsletter. So likewise with the what I was saying earlier about the fact that I didn't really know I was doing copywriting. Even then, I wasn't writing any impartial stories here or anything negative. It was all positive PR fluff. But I mean, I'm this 18 stone ex rugby player guy going in as basically the editor of Bella. So straight away, day one, I was having to write articles about false nails, manicures, home beauty kits, and all of that type of stuff. And I'm the only one, so it's I didn't have a team at that time. So the marketing director just used to laugh his head off. We'd be running through the pagination for the forthcoming issue, and he'd just be like, "Oh, what's next, Dave?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, just an article about fake tans, Mark, yeah." And he'd just be laughing his head off. Just me compared to this kind of female beauty regimes definitely didn't sit right.
And how easy was it to write then, given the subject matter?
Looking back, it was I think because I had the journalism degree, that even stands me in good stead today, because you're taught to write in different styles, you're taught how to research, you're taught how to write a compelling intro, how to grab people's attention with the headline. So I think in terms of the writing, that was all fine. It was really just, I suppose, getting into the female voice and trying to make it look like it wasn't just some fat lads writing an article about French manicure. I mean, my mug was it was on page 2 of the little magazine and stuff. So I mean, they all knew that I was the editor of it. I think nobody really put 2 and 2 together. It was just
no, but why should they? Why should they? I don't think that should be an issue. I'd find that quite appealing.
Yeah. So looking back, I never really struggled. It was just another job. It's just another thing to write for me. Like today, if somebody came to me and said, "Oh, I sell steel fencing around these kids' football pitches. I need to sell that." I'd do the research into that, and I'd find out what I'd probably follow exactly the same process. Understand what the buyer wants, how the buyer thinks, talk about all the benefits and stuff. Exactly how I would back then, whether it was a 5 steps to the perfect French polish or something.
Well, it shouldn't be any other way, really, should it? As you exactly said, it's the process. We are entirely industry neutral because it is the process. And if anything, having that variety actually helps you refine your skill, really, I would suggest.
Yeah, I think so. I think as long as you've got the fundamentals right at the start, you can literally write about anything. I mean, obviously there's in-depth stuff that if you try and talk about something without doing research and without really knowing too much of the subject matter, anything more than, say, a basic blog post, you're going to get found out. You can't just scratch the surface of that stuff. But in terms of the approach and how you attack a new brand or a new subject or anything really, provided you got those fundamentals right and you know the general structure, I think it's only going to benefit you. Stuff I've written about in the past, I'd probably be one of the best general knowledge mastermind people, because you tend to just learn. I mean, not now, but I mean, after you've done each job, you kind of know this intense amount of information about really obscure things. Like I wrote a website for vaping products a couple of months ago, and I knew everything about that for about like a week. If anybody would have asked, "Oh, what do you know about vaping?" I'd be like, "Woof, yeah, sit down. I'm going to tell you everything I know about vaping, mate. No problem."
That's good, though. I like that. I don't think it's the first time I've repeated this quote, and I'm sure its origins are Dave Trott. It's that the most interesting and creative people know stuff about stuff.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think it comes from just this, I don't know, I think it's ingrained from when I was a kid. I mean, I was a little hyperactive nutter of a kid, just always into everything, wanted to know stuff, constantly just doing my mum's head in, running everywhere. It was just because I was inquisitive and I wanted to soak up all of this info. And I think that stayed with me. I mean, I'm not saying every copywriter starts out as a hyperactive little lunatic of a child.
Just the best ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I hope so. But But I mean, that's just my kind of way of the way I've always been. Always just this little thirst for knowledge and wanting to find out stuff. I think that stands me in good stead in the job I do now. So yeah, that was in house for that company, and then probably about six. I was there for 10 years. So about six years in, the marketing director said, "Do you fancy becoming a copywriter?" And I said, I'd heard the word copy when I did my journalism degree. You file your final copy to the editor, and that was the only time I'd come across it. But I was like, copywriter, yeah, but I'll have to read up a little bit about it. So I asked them what they need me to do, and it was basically just an extension of what I was already doing on the customer newsletter, but also writing direct mail letters, writing the emails to customers, writing product descriptions for the stuff that they used to sell, and writing the sales copy within the catalogues. It was just a wider range I just saw it as a wider range of jobs. I really didn't see it because I'd been doing it in the customer magazine, this kind of salesy. At the end of every article, it never just ended flat. There was always like a call to action where it was encouraging them to order more or explaining why the gift vouchers that they were saving up for Christmas, were better than just putting your money into the bank or something. So there was always an ulterior motive at the end of it, and I think it was just moving into the emails and the direct mail letters for that company. That was just, and I saw it as an actual extension for that of that. But at the same time, I wanted to know more and did a load of reading and found out, there's really from my journalistic background, there were lots more. There was lots more to learn, certainly from the copywriting side of things, in terms of being persuasive and understanding the psychology about how people think, and just the real basics that I swear by now, which is always putting the reader first, always putting benefits before features. The real copywriter, you go to things before you start any job, really. So the company had paid for me to go on a couple of courses down at the it's the IDM. I think it's changed. I think the acronym or initialism, is it? I don't know. Partridge would know that.
He would.
Yeah, I think I'll find it in initialism, Dave. I think it's the Institute, or it was the Institute of Direct Marketing. It's probably digital marketing or something now. And I just did a couple of day courses there. There was a guy called Paul Shooter. Some of the copywriters who are listening will probably come across Paul. And I did 2 courses with him, which was how to write more powerful direct mail letters, and just a copywriting masterclass where I took a piece that I'd written for the company and he critiqued it and showed me where, what I was doing wrong, what I should do right. And that really, that one day down there, that just blew my mind. I still remember it now. I've still got you come away with a little folder, like you like when you've been on an open day at sixth form or something. I've still got that folder and I'll still refer back to it now. Just the real basics about you being simplistic with words. So using words like get instead of obtain, and needs instead of requirements, stuff like that. He was telling me that back then, and I've always kind of used that approach right through to email subject lines and stuff like that. He covered all of that, so it was probably the best. I think it was 500 quid or something at the time. Certainly the best 500 quid. Well, I never spent it. The company spent it. The best 500 quid that's ever been spent on my behalf. That was really the eye opener. So I carried on working with them for probably another 3 years. And then a good friend of mine had moved out to Dubai to an agency as, he's partnered there now, but he started off, I think, just as digital director, and just got in touch and said, Dave, do you fancy, we've got like an IT arm opening in the company. We've got no website. Do you fancy writing it for us? And I was like, yeah, okay. A million and one things running through me. What do I charge? How long is it going to take me? What approach do I take? But at the time, my confidence was low. I'd been in the same company for whatever, 8-9 years, I think. I just felt, it was a local company. I'd been plodding along. There wasn't particularly anywhere else I could go in the company. So when he came and said, do you fancy doing this? It was like, on one side of on one hand, I was terrified. But then on the other hand, I was like, well, if he's confident enough in me writing this for his new company, I must have something about me. So that was the first real freelance job I did, which was start of 2016 it was, so not that too long ago really. I've still got it in my portfolio now, but for the IT company. I mean, their approach was brilliant. It was right up my, it's kind of based on my approach now, which was the IT industry is littered with bullshit. We're targeting a load of small business owners who haven't really got much of a grasp on IT, and our website needs to address their needs. It needs to speak to them in their language. It needs to have zero IT terminology bullshit. And when it does talk about anything technical, it needs to explain it in simple terms. So I just went to Analogy Town on that one. It was just explaining the arse out of all these different terms in really relatable ways, and they loved it. And like I said, it's a piece that I look back on now. It's in my portfolio, and I'll still get clients to this day. Oh yeah, saw that in your portfolio. Could you do that for us? I'm talking like big IT and technology companies where they can see it's clear as day how simple it is in comparison to 90%, I'd say, of the absolute, the worst of the worst, technical, inward focused, complete, absolute technologically backward guff that you see out there.
It regularly just sounds like two IT directors chatting or two engineers, doesn't it? There's too much friction by way of technical language or jargon, whatever it is. It just always tends to add more friction that doesn't make sense.
I think they tend, because that's the language that they speak. If you're not a marketer, you tend to, I think when your daily vocabulary is acronyms and internal, this internal techno babble, and you haven't got somebody to translate that for your social feed, it's naturally going to sound like that. And I think that there's a danger of that happening as well when the directors or the decision makers who talk that stuff take too much control in the sign-off process for their output, their marketing output. Because with all intents and purposes, a copywriter could make it as relatable as possible. But then if the IT director then changes it to all his usual techno speak, they've got no chance really.
I found somewhere you wrote your 3 key points of keeping it simple, speaking the truth, and telling a story. Are there any other rules that you tend to follow?
They were the 3 that I kind of started off with back in the day. I mean, it's always been, for me, it's always rooted in simplicity. And I know that's probably true of again, I'm talking percentages, but 90% of copywriters, which is, let's just keep this simple. And when you're talking to clients, it's, how would you explain this to a 10-year-old kid? Let's just keep it in real basic terms. So that's definitely the one I'll always do. Again, back to what I was saying before, the stuff I learned on that copywriting course with Paul Shooter, which was, say get instead of obtain, say needs instead of requirements, stuff like that. The real basic stuff. Speaking the truth, again, was in life, the more bullshit and lies, even the little white lies that you spout, you end up backing yourself in a corner and you're going to have to explain your way out of it. There's a lot of claims, with I'd say that really with some suspicious facts, stuff that they can't really back up and things like that. The more flexible you are with the truth, the more chance you've got of being called out, I think. And people aren't stupid these days. They will call you out in it, especially because social media is so accessible now. They'll just one wrong word, and if someone sees through it, they'll just call you out in it, and 10 retweets, and you're in the Daily Mail. So that's speaking the truth. I mean, and it's that's not to say it's easy to always speak the truth, because there's a lot of incredibly dull businesses out there. But that gets me onto the third point, which is tell a story, and it's if you tell a story, you can literally make anything sound interesting, regardless of what it is. So say it's a company that sells, I don't know, I'm looking around here on little metallic washers. Say it's a company that sells them. They're on their, I don't know, their Twitter feed. They might, day in, day out, they might be saying, metallic washers are the best metallic washers in the world. But there's no resonance. There's no relatability. If you then spin that into a story and say, our metallic washers are used in the latest iMac or something, or put a completely spin. Our metallic washers are used by Alder Hey Children's Hospital in this revolutionary piece of kit, and then you put some, real tangibility to it. That's where you get your, that's where you can make a boring truth sound a lot more exciting. Anyway, I mean, they're just a couple of random ones I've plucked out of thin air.
Yeah, no, it makes sense though. It makes sense. And mentioning social media, then you recently gave. I'm assuming now that it was in the style of Paul Shooter, but you gave a cracking mini workshop on Twitter in response to an email you received from Holiday Extras.
Oh, nice one. I've tried to do them more. Not so much on Twitter, but more LinkedIn. I'll do it before and after. So I'll take an email that I've been sent. Not all of them terrible, most of them are pretty lame. The one I received the other day was from Holiday Extras, and it was just a headline that stuck out to me. It said, "We can spot the best parking deals all the way from Kent." I read it and I thought, sound, I'm made up for you. I hope everything's good down there. What's the point of that? I don't care if you can spot the best parking deals all the way from Kent. I want to know where these parking deals are. I want you to tell me. You're just a faceless. This is just going to be a faceless transaction. I don't give a toss if you're in Kentucky or Tashkent or I think I made a couple of examples.
That's right, yeah.
I just want me 15% discount or whatever that you're promising. And it was just it was talking about themselves, which is just an absolute no-no. I mean, I preach about it all the time on LinkedIn, which, I mean, my audience on Twitter is completely different to LinkedIn. Twitter's all my kind of creative mates, I suppose, who are in on the joke. So when I'm writing about this stuff, I know they're all kind of just nodding along with, well, I hope they're nodding along with me, understanding the stuff I'm talking about. But when I do it on LinkedIn, and there's a lot of small business owners out there who probably haven't got a clue, or they're not even asked about copy or marketing. It's opening their eyes to see how these real fundamental errors can be completely spun on their head and made so much more positive, and they can get more out of it. So that's what I did with the Holiday Extras one. Just really went through it with a fine tooth comb. The next line, I think the next line down it just reiterated what it said. It was something, our Kent experts find the best choice of airport parking at the very best prices. So I was like, still talking about Kent again, guys. It's all a bit in your face. So once I've critiqued it, I'll then do how I would have approached it. So it was just a little bit of humour, snappy subject line, relatable headline, honesty, a little bit of self-deprecation. Job done. I mean, and that's not for me to. I do it on LinkedIn not to say, "Oh, no, great. This is come and work with me because look how much better I can make this email." I explain my thinking behind it. I always liken it to like it in school when you get marks for your work, showing you're working out in maths. Even if the final sum or the final calculation is miles off, if you've kind of gone about it the right way, you get credit for it. I'll always say my final, or when I've rewritten something, that's not to say it's right. That's just my opinion. That's just based on what I know to be the generally accepted ways of writing in a better, more engaging, persuasive way. That's how I would have done it. So I've had some decent feedback from LinkedIn. Like I was saying, I don't do it to say, "Oh, aren't I great? Come and work with me." I just do it to show them how simple it is, how they can do it themselves. And if they need a hand, if they want me to come and help them with something, that's fine. But I certainly don't approach anybody and go, "Oh, don't do any hard selling or whatever." I think that's the one part of Gary V's whole spiel I think I agree with, because I watched a video of his a couple of weeks ago on LinkedIn. Like, it's like you can avoid them these days. And he was talking about his wine business, and he said, "At no point do I say, come and buy my wine, come and buy my wine, come and buy my wine." He said, "I'll talk about it, and it's great if you do." He said, "But all I'm doing is giving value. At no point will I force the wine down anyone's throat." Not that I've seen any of his wine marketing stuff, but it was that soft sell. I suppose the fundamentals of content marketing, really. It's given the audience advice and information and a laugh at times. I suppose it's given them value, and allowing them to make the decision when it comes to if they wanted to get in touch with me. That's fine. But I've gone off on a little bit of a tangent there. We were talking about the best parking deals from Kent, weren't we?
No, it's all good though. It's all good. All made sense. And I mean, I'm linked with you on LinkedIn and follow you on Twitter, and I find them on Twitter much more amusing. And on LinkedIn, as you say, you're putting it out as your recommended approach to someone else's pre-written ad or something, and it's a good way of demonstrating how things can be more direct and more persuasive. And it's a nice touch. Funnily enough, I used to work at an agency, and they had a fairly light new biz activity where they would find prospective clients ads in local press or wherever they may be, and redesign the whole thing and send it to them and say, look, we saw your ad in this publication. We think it should be more like this. Let's talk. So it is soft sell, and I think soft sell is certainly a place for that, and it's certainly our approach anyway. Yeah, I completely agree with the approach. I think it's great. It's long term as well, isn't it? It's the long game. It's not the short game. Yeah, and I think if you can put your money where your mouth is as well, and show that you know what you're talking about, you kind of just leave it up to them to make the decision. If they like the way you've done it, that's fine. That's why I'll take the piss a little bit on LinkedIn, and I'll screen grab these companies' email. I wouldn't do it for Barry the builder's down in Bootle if he emailed me, because he's just trying to make his way in life and he probably hasn't got much marketing background. But if it's a big company, I'll screen grab it and I'll call them out, and I will rewrite it, because I think they should be doing better. It shouldn't just be councils and stuff see signs all the time, and it's just, look, mate, you've done a 12-foot billboard there with the worst apostrophe glaring error I've ever seen. Like how is this passed? What's going on with your sign-off process? So I'll have a little bit of a laugh with stuff like that, but I never do it maliciously. There's always a rationale behind it. Again, if Holiday Extras wanted to call me up and say, "Oh, that was a bit harsh," I'll explain my thinking behind it, like I have done on LinkedIn. So I don't think it's ever a bad thing. But yeah, I think it probably, like you say, it could benefit me by playing that long game rather than going straight in for the kill. And I think it's always there in my back pocket as well. I mean, touch wood, I've been freelancing for 3 years now. I haven't really hit much of a dry patch, because I've had a steady stream of work. But I think if ever that was to happen, I think that would be definitely one of my tactics to approach businesses who've sent me stuff and just show how I would change it, just to try and A, grab a bit of attention, but B, grab a bit of money off them as well.
Well, I think your point there you made at the start of that reply was particularly spot on. It is the whole "don't tell me you're a comedian, make me laugh," actually showing them how copy could be rewritten. So on that, I think it's a perfect bridge to discuss something that you wrote when you were just 13 years old, which was a poem for your nan.
Yeah.
Just for the benefit of the listeners, I just want to play a little recital of said poem, with huge thanks to Ollie and Giselle for putting this together.
Dogs. For my nan. There are large dogs, little dogs, vicious dogs alike. They growl at you and chase you when you're riding on your bike. If you're lucky, you escape with just a pounding heart. However, some are fast and they rip you apart.
Sounds so gritty.
Just the other day, I was running down our street when a terrier eyed me and sprang to its feet. I sprinted round the corner and began to pick up speed, but the dog was determined. It had broken off its lead. I turned up the road with the dog still on my tail, but the dog was going to catch me. It was never going to fail. Then everything was silent. It felt nice and calm, until the dog jumped up and took a piece out of my arm. Now, 3 days later, my arm is still in pain. I have 37 stitches I'll never write again. I now look like a freak. I will never go downtown, but justice has been done. The dog has been put down.
Oh, God. Oh, what an absolute psycho of a child wrote that. Fucking hell.
Age 13, just to remind
that's
everyone.
nuts. How dark's that? What was I thinking there? I think, you know what? I remember being bitten by a dog walking home from church once, and that just probably stuck in there. Yeah.
But am I right in thinking your nan would proudly show that around?
Oh, it was on. She framed it, right? I give it to her. After this was like a little homework task, I think. I gave it to her, and she framed it, and it hung on the bathroom wall, just to the left. So if you're standing there, standing up using the toilet, and you look left, you've got this poem of dogs staring right back at you. So it was there for, I'm talking, a good decade. It's not long come down. So yeah, it's seen some. I mean, it's only seen my aunties and uncles and cousins stuff in my nan's, but yeah, pride of place, psycho dog killer.
What a wonderful lady, especially with such a psycho
Yeah,
grandson.
exactly.
So do you still write poetry?
Not so much for fun anymore. I mean, I'll do it if a client wants I mean, you've got all of these national days now, haven't you? So National Poetry Day and stuff like that. So I'll do a piece if they need to. I worked with an agency over the road from where I'm based in Liverpool on a new brand narrative for the Liverpool City region recently. And as part of that pitch, I wrote a poem just to tail off the pitch, and that they loved it. Like they went for it. We won the pitch just with this poem, which is all about Liverpool. So I still like to have a little dabble from time to time. But it's not so much fun anymore. It's just when I can, when the moment strikes me. So I'll do them on LinkedIn. I've done a couple on LinkedIn this year, which had some decent feedback. I mean, talking vanity metrics, likes. I didn't get anywhere off the back of it, but I mean, people are like, oh yeah, I like that. You should do more poetry, but I don't know. We're too busy at the moment. I haven't got the time to. I'd love to have that, a little bit of extra time to do that, but. Yeah, we'll see.
Oh, you should, mate. You should, because age 13, there's real potential and talent there.
Yeah.
You work presumably then with both clients directly and via agencies. How does that differ? And do you have a preference? Albeit you've got to be careful to say so because you don't want to deter the other.
Yeah, it's. I suppose they've both got the benefits, really. I mean, I mentioned earlier the first job I'd done for my friend's agency out in Dubai that he was working for. I'm actually still working with them. So I probably half of my month is taken up doing stuff for their clients. That's all remotely, obviously, if they're based in the centre of Dubai. With them, they've got huge brands. They've got the likes of Emirates and Nespresso and Standard Chartered Bank and stuff. So the brands are a lot bigger than who, the businesses that would approach me, for instance. So I've had loads of great exposure to some really big, well-known household brands, which has been great in terms of seeing getting access to their, brand tone of voice guidelines and things, and being able to adapt my tone for how they talk to certainly for their Middle East audience, but also some of the global campaigns that I've worked on. But yeah, I mean, I love working on those bigger brands. It's great, and it gives me the experience rather than just focusing on working for local businesses and stuff, which is great in terms of the work. I mean, the work for me is always the same. I'll take the same approach, but just that having that wider, knowing that more people are seeing it, and having a bit more of an impact on a wider scale. Knowing that my email campaign is going out to 13 countries across the Middle East and North Africa is like, whoa, just mind blowing. And whereas I know, again, Barry's the builders down in Bootle. I know a little brochure I'll do for him is only probably going to see 20 people. But then, that said, that's probably the benefit of the local businesses. You cannot put a figure on seeing how much of a tangible difference you can make to real businesses, and seeing the impact that you can have just through showing them some really basic stuff. So when I'm working with the agencies, I mean, they're talking the acronyms and the brands, the industry speaking, it's just a million miles an hour. Whereas local businesses, I'm going right down to the bare bones of look, mate. We can't just have a 12-point list of features here. The best way is to spin it on its head. And I mean, there's a nice little example I'll always give to explain the importance of putting benefits before features when I'm talking to one-man band, local businesses and stuff, which is AO.com did a great one. I think Paul Shooter actually told me about it. I've mentioned Paul Shooter about 8 times, but that shows how much that one workshop had on me 5 or 6 years ago. And it was when they were selling washing machines, and rather than have, say, on Curry's or Dixon's or whatever, their washing machines would have 4.2. I'm making numbers up here. 4.2 super low decibel noise level. AO.com would say, This washing machine is so quiet it won't wake your sleeping baby. So straight away you can see the benefit ahead of the feature. So I'll always go and try and explain things just in really simple terms.
The example I always give for benefits before features is that people don't want to buy nails; they want to hang a picture on a wall.
Yeah, that's a great one. Actually, when I started, sorry, again going off on a tangent here, when I first started out looking to become freelance from my in-house job, I stumbled across Tom Albrighton's website, ABC Copywriting, and he does that. He's like that homepage is just a masterclass in illustrating the difference between writing and copywriting. Have you seen his website?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of Tom's. In fact, he's come up on the, I think Vicky talked about Tom on her episode of Call to Action.
Yeah. He's
and Glenn Fisher, to be fair.
Yeah. Oh, Glenn's great as well. I met Glenn last month at a conference. We were having a good chinwag. But
yeah, both him and Vicky are real experts. They're hugely talented and lovely people.
Yeah. I love Vicky. Met Vicky in London last year, and she's, I mean, even ever since I started off, she coined the Copywriters Unite, and she's just endlessly reposting stuff about jobs, and she's dead funny as well. She's brilliant. So I got to meet her in London last year. That was I went on one of her first copy safaris.
Yes, yeah. We've plugged those before. They're awesome. They're fantastic ideas.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Me and Dr. Draper, Ryan Warman, we'd had a Copywriters Unite the night before, so I think we were a little bit worse for wear, but it was a good.
Yeah, I think I've seen the photos actually.
yeah. So it was an ace one, that walking up and down Regent Street, just critiquing all of the ads, and no prisoners whatsoever. I think I'd rocked up late. I think I'd had a little bit of a hangover, and then met Vicky and Ryan, and another copywriter, Katie, as we were walking down Regent Street. And I think one of the first ads I commented on, I think it was just a single word. I said, "Oh, that's a nice word." And Vicky was straight on to me, "But what's nice about it? Tell me what's nice about it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Explain everything, which is great. I'm not challenged in that way when I'm explaining to my own clients or why is that particular word. And I think it's only when a group of copywriters come together that you can really go to town on the power of a single word or the pace of a sentence. Or I mean, I made a point yesterday on Twitter. There was a headline from Booking.com where they used the word place instead of home when they're referring to rent out your place. I think they're trying to do an Airbnb, and it was rent out your place, but it was the way the word place sat in the sentence just never had the same. It didn't sound right than if it was me saying, come back to my place. None of my clients or even the people I work in a co-working space where I'm based, that no one would just get that. And it's great to spend time amongst people who understand a little bit about how you think and the stuff that your thought process and things. So I love that. That was great on the copy safari.
And you hosted, am I right? You hosted the inaugural evening for the North's Copywriters Unite recently. How did that go?
It was the first Liverpool one. Yeah, I'd co-hosted it with Claire Barry.
Yes,
she's another. Yeah, she's based in. She's based near me in Liverpool. I say co-hosted. She sorted it all out. I think she even ordered the pizzas. I just rocked up and got the first couple of drinks in.
There's a pattern here.
Yeah. I'm showing myself up here. I mean, I shamelessly put my name to this co-hosting with Claire. But yeah, that was the first Liverpool one. And I think there was about 12 people turned up, and it was a nice mix of wasn't just writers. There was a videographer there and a couple of social media managers as well. So it was a nice blend. And like I said before, there's something really nice about when a group of writers who probably, certainly when you're freelancing, you rarely get the time to speak to people who are on your level and understand how obsessively nerdy you are over commas and apostrophes and how good was that headline and stuff. You just don't get that anywhere else. So I mean that in itself was worth doing. But I mean it's the whole Copywriters Unite thing. It was a natural extension of what I think is unique among copywriters, in that everyone backs each other, everyone supports each other. Everyone's just a champion. I mean, I'm speaking for myself here. I obviously don't know what other industries are like.
I think you're right, though. I had exactly this conversation, funnily enough, the other week with Ryan Woolman, who you mentioned earlier, and he made exactly the same point, that there seems to be I think, proportionally higher number of specifically UK copywriters, albeit Ryan's based, abroad in Australia, and there's others all around the world, but there is a real hub and a core support network which lives on Twitter, which is a great thing.
Yeah. It's one of the great things that enabled me to go full-time freelance as well. I mean, like I said, when I was working in-house, confidence was low. I'd only really been doing copywriting for a couple of years. When I got the chance to start working on client stuff, it was like just dipping my toe in the water, right? Where do I go? I'd done a couple of little day courses, but I'm going to have to start building a network here. I mean, at the time, I had probably 20 connections on Twitter. I've now got like a couple of thousand, and they're all, like I said before, they're all my mates. It's just they're like my colleagues almost, who are constantly rooting for me. They're in on the jokes. They can have a laugh. Okay, now and again we'll have a little to do, and oh no, I disagree with you there, but that's the beauty of it. We can all give our opinions about stuff, copy lines, tone of voice, and the fact that it's so subjective as well. You get all of these different opinions. But it's amazing. Whenever any people come to me and say, I'm thinking of going freelance, we're thinking of doing this, I just say, go onto Twitter and start get involved in conversations. Be keen, show how interested you are in this. Get involved in conversations, and take it from there. And the rest will follow. You'll build up your network organically. Then organically, what a shit word.
I'm not editing that out, mate. I'm gonna leave that in.
Sorry, I was talking to a client earlier. I was using that type of the usual terminology you've got to.
Yeah, well, you got to speak their language, haven't you? Like you said, that's all fair.
So that's what I always say to people looking for a bit of advice. Grow your network naturally. Naturally, there you are. That's the one better than organic.
Yeah, there we go. That's better, isn't it? Well, talking about that, then I've a couple of listener questions which I'd like to chuck at you.
Okay.
So, asking the general public for their opinion, be it on Brexit or boat names, is notoriously fraught with danger, but that's not stopped us asking for listeners to put questions to our guests. So we'll start with copywriter Claire. Now, this isn't Claire Barry, it's another Claire. And I originally put this to Vicky Ross in a previous episode, but this question tends to be quite divisive, so I thought I would put it at you. So Claire asked, what do you think of emojis?
I use them. They're obviously my mortal enemy because I'm a writer. But I think providing that they can communicate something, I think they're widely available. They'll always have a place, especially when you've got less and less time. Am I saying fewer and fewer time? No, it's definitely less and less time. That one always catches me out. Yeah, we've got less and less time to grab attention these days. I think the balance has got to be right. You can't just smash them in every piece of communication. If it's done well and it's done tastefully, tastefully is probably the wrong word, but if it's done, I don't know, in a cool way, I think there's a place for it. But yeah, nothing. Definitely not wholly against them, but I don't know, it's a bit of an on your fence answer, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think that's fair. I mean, I think it's true of everything, isn't it? It's not, things are rarely binary. I mean, Murray Calder coined a great term of false binaries, and there's so many false binaries in our industry where people are forced between saying yes and no, or good or bad. And I think you're absolutely right. If they could be used really well and really effectively and really intelligently, but using them for the sake of using them, as with anything, isn't necessarily the way to go. The other question we've had in is from Mark, who is also a copywriter and clearly another Partridge fan. So he has asked, how would you like to be disposed of when you're dead?
Oh my God, how would I like to be disposed of when I'm dead?
I think that's straight from
it is Norfolk Digital. Who is the best lord of the dance or of the flies?
Who invented the skip?
Oh, I could talk Partridge all day. I mean, what was the question? How would I like to be disposed of when I'm dead?
That's it, yeah. I think for Mark's benefit, it would be unfair not to answer.
I love in films the Viking, put on a pallet, set fire to a couple of coins in the eye, sent out into the middle of the North Sea.
Yeah, that's dramatic.
Middle of the River Mersey, I suppose, somewhere. That would be the Scouse burial. Put on a pallet, shipbuilding. Put £2 coins in my eyes. Yeah, draped in a Liverpool scarf or something. Yeah, hilarious.
Well, I hope Mark's happy with that answer. He certainly should be.
Yeah. I hope I did it justice. I'm sure Partridge would come up with an equally bizarre answer as well, wouldn't he?
So the final part, as I'm sure you are aware, Dave, is our 4 pertinent posers. So question 1 is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I suppose it's just to have a laugh and to know that doing business doesn't have to be serious at all. I spent years festering in a job that I just didn't like. And in the back of my mind, because I used to have a laugh and take the piss a bit, I always thought, am I doing this too much? Am I not being taken seriously? And it was only when I really started freelancing and did my own thing that became my voice. And I realized that it's a way to actually set yourself apart from other people, and not just blend in with everybody. I think Dave Trott always makes the great point of, certainly in advertising, people want to be entertained. And I think it's probably wrong of me to say it as a copywriter, because everything I do, there has to be a humour or an entertainment element in it. And I know that's not for everybody, but for the stuff that I do, on whether it's social media or any of my own marketing that I do, there's got to have an element of fun to it. And if my audience doesn't like that, they can switch off. And I know they're not, they're far too serious for me. So I kind of see that as a little bit of a filter anyway. It filters out the dullards. So I know I'm not just working with people who want to keep things serious all the time. So a bit of a long answer, I suppose, but don't be afraid of having a laugh.
So if you could banish one thing from the industry, what would it be and why?
Oh, banish one thing. It would be these throwaway phrases, which is more than one thing, but I write about it all the time on social. Stuff like high quality, and better than ever. It's like, you're not going to make a shitter thing, are you? So it's definitely going to be better than ever. Or there's a classic one, designed around you. It's like, who else is it going to be designed around? Is it going to be designed around fucking a Martian? No, it's going to be designed around me. Or built to last, like they're going to make it, to blow away. Just little throwaway phrases that people have just become. I see them as safe phrases. You just
stuff that you would by default assume to be true. Like when people say they're experts with selling a service, well, clearly your competitors aren't saying any different. So it doesn't help me decide.
And I'll notice. I don't know if it's just me being weird or if it's a trait amongst other wordies, but I'll notice things like when you hear the phrase "sit back" and what's the next 2 words that come after? Sit back and relax. They always say that. Just sit back and relax. Like, what about if I don't want to relax? I just want to sit back. But it always seems to have to follow. Sit back and relax, these 4 words in that precise order. And it's like just little stuff like that bugs me. I mean, that's just a weird one. The other stuff is like you say, it's just phrases that you'd expect to be true anyway. High quality, better than ever. Change the record, mate.
Are there any books you would recommend?
Anything by Dave Trott. I mean, my approach to storytelling, I suppose, on LinkedIn is just absolutely inspired by the way he does stuff. I mean, I don't know what he's obviously the most well-read man in history. The fact that he'll Tom Fisher from Arkansas in 1742. It's like, whoa, where are you coming up with these stats? And then at the very end, there'll be this really poignant message about why, why you should be creative, or the approach to creativity that you should take. So that's, all the Dave Trott books. So what are we talking? Predatory Thinking, and I'm sure everyone's already got them. His new one, Creative Blindness. I'm halfway through that, but
1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah, that's the other one. Yeah, they're just really, really easy to pick up and read. And there's another really cool one that I got recently by a guy called Michael Johnson. It's a little green book. It's called Now Try Something Weirder. And it's just again really. I mean, I get a nosebleed if I write anything more than say 400 words. So the shorter the better, and the punchier the better. And his book's just great. It just covers. I think that the whole stick of it is how to keep having great ideas and survive when you're constantly running out of or running down dark alleys. And his whole book is just heavy on the micro copy, which I mean. Again, a lot of copywriters will probably agree with me. Micro copy for me is as important as headline copy sometimes. In terms of, I mean, headline copy is your impactful stuff, but your terms and conditions and the stuff which Monzo and the likes absolutely smash. That little tiny copy is as important in building the relationship long term.
And it's so often overlooked, isn't it? I mean, I hate using Innocent as an example, but a good example is their contact page on the website, where instead of phone it just says call the banana phone on whatever. It's little touches like that which they're memorable and they're sticky and they stick in your head and you think about them. Therefore, it does exactly what you want all of your comms to do.
Yeah, and you read every single word of it. I mean, I again name dropping, but spoke to Nick Parker at he was at the Creative North conference last month, and that's exactly what I said to him. I said, everything you do or everything he's got the voice box tone of voice kit. I said,
we've got that here.
I demoed it last month with another copywriter who lives near me, Claire Jennings. And we we ran through the whole kit, but there wasn't a single word out of place. Every full stop was considered, and everything was just perfect, word perfect. And when something's really that well considered and it's all done purposefully, and it just makes a great example of how important the small stuff is. You should never overlook that small stuff, because it can have such an impact. And the book by Michael Johnson is to Now Try Something Weirder. It does that to brilliantly, right through to the front cover. It's got, I think every point he makes, he numbers it, and even you get to the front cover and it's up to like number 200. And he's like putting a little footnote next to his name saying, "Don't forget your name." And then next to the publisher's little logo says something like "grudgingly leave space for the publisher's logo," and they've all got little numbers next to them. So that's just brilliant to me.
And it's that really succinct stuff as well, isn't it? I mean, my going on a tangent slightly, one of my favourite comedians, Bill Burr, he references jokes sometimes being fat free, where if you take a word out, it completely loses the joke. And it's just that purity in some copywriting, that we call it trimming the fat here with copywriting, that editing process where you think, does that word need to be there? If I take it away, does it still make sense? And whatever. But funny enough, Nick's actually coming on the pod in a few weeks' time, so we'll no doubt talk to him about voice box in more detail, because as I say, we've got a copy here and it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I like I said, we demoed it. Me and Claire Jennings, another copywriter in Widnes, just round the corner from me.
Yeah, I've met Claire. Yeah. Fan of Claire's.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, she's great. We ran through the whole kit, and like I said, for me, it just puts kind of puts tangibility on stuff that you already know, but it really kind of formulates it. It takes a lot of the things that you already really know in your head. It's hard to get down on paper. So he adds, I keep going back to again this word, tangibility. He adds some realism to what you already kind of know in your head about different tones and different ways of speaking that you've never really had to explain before, or you've never written down, certainly not explained to clients before. So to have something physical that you can go in and go, let's run through this exercise, bang, 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 run through all of the different ways you speak. And then at the end of it, here's an exercise. This is how we can write in your tone. It's just genius. I told him that the other week. Brilliant.
Lastly, then, we always dedicate the show to someone, and we bestow or hospital pass that honour, depending on your point of view, to our guest, who also has to give their reason why. So can you dedicate this show to someone, Dave?
Three people. Let's say three people. The first two, going full on Oscar speech cheese here, but definitely my parents, my mum and dad, because he said at the start, no bullshit, anti-bullshit copywriter. My mum and dad are just. My mum keeps it real. I'm talking real as real. Cannot get what's the phrase? Can't get the wool over their eyes. But she's just like, you can't get anything past her whatsoever. And she's more anti-bullshit than me. She'll see through anything. And once a week, they go to their local pub for a pint twice a week. At least once a week, I'll go and just sit with them and just listen to their stories and listen to how they speak. And I see that's almost as good as reading something, because I'm hearing now just the realest of the real speak just amongst themselves, which sounds a little bit wanky, doesn't it? As if I'm completely
No, I don't know. If it sounds wanky, then it sounds wanky. I don't think it does.
But yeah, and they always do. They always have done. Keeping it real. And then, so they're the first two, and then the third one would be the friend of mine who really gave me the opportunity to become freelance, which is, his name's Matt Richardson. He's a partner in this agency in Dubai, and I still speak with him every week. I was out in Dubai with him and meeting all the guys from that agency in March, and he really gave me that first opportunity and believed in me at the start, and I couldn't have been here without him. So yeah,
awesome. Yeah, it goes a long way.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I'll never forget that. And I tell him that I can see him like rolling his eyes and cringing when I do. I say, I'll never forget this, mate. Never forget this. But it's true. It's true. If you I think that's important as well in life. If people do a good turn for you, it's always nice to if you can't immediately pay them back. It's always nice to let them know that you appreciate it.
100%.
Yeah, especially when it's helped you out. I mean, I'm a million times happier than I was when I was stuck in the day job. Like now I'm freelancing, so it's I've got him to thank for that.
Good on him, and good on your mum and dad as well.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah. I'll let my mum know that I mentioned that. She'll be like, no embarrassing story. I use her for a lot of the daft little personal stories I'll tell on LinkedIn, which always have like this thinly veiled marketing message at the end, just as an example of how I'll tell a story. Just stuff from like when I was growing up, she told me she knew what the internet sounded like, and
I saw that earlier.
Yeah. I know what the internet sounds like, and I said, "Hang on, Mum, you bought me a house phone to dial up the internet. This is you saying we now know what the internet sounds like."
Yeah, that's it. Now she's done that.
Yeah. So and she,
that's very Greg Davies-esque to use your mum as your.
Yeah, I mean, she got me this year. She got me a fair few. One story I told, she got me like a few £1,000s worth of business just on the back of this one story where I think I was mid-20s, and she said to me one day, I went round to her house and she went, "David, your face is going to explode." And I was like, what the fuck? Where's this?
Thanks,
I was like, where's this from? I mean, at the time, I was like pushing 21 stone. So I'd completely, given up hope health-wise. I was eating takeaways left, right and centre and stuff. And she'd always said, shouldn't you start eating healthier? Oh, them clothes stuff. Yeah, just little digs. But then there was that one day when she just said, your face is going to explode. And I made a point of it on LinkedIn. I said it was the power of those carefully chosen words. She called me David, which was like stern. She pointed at my face, which is like the most important part of my body. She said, "is going to." So it was almost like a certainty. And then obviously the explode bit, which is like boom, like my cheeks are so bulbous they're gonna kaboom any moment. So that was the point I've made. If you're trying to sell something, don't just tell your customers they should maybe lose weight. Tell them their face is going to explode.
Yeah, you didn't need Paul Shooter after all. The answer was at home.
Exactly. Speak to me, Mark.
Amazing.
So mum and dad, brilliant.
So as a final call to action, if you head over to this episode online at calltoaction.co, we'll share everything we've discussed in the last hour. So all of Dave's book, Michael Johnson's, Tom Albrighton, link to Nick Parker, and everyone else we've talked over. How else can people get more Dave Harland then? Is LinkedIn and Twitter the best channels?
Yeah, LinkedIn. Just I don't think you have handles on LinkedIn, do you? Yeah, just search Dave Harland, copywriter on LinkedIn. Twitter, it's @wordmancopy. And my website is thewordman.co.uk. I thought I'd come up with a daft little brand name rather than doing my own name, but it's all right. I suppose it stands me apart from everyone who just uses the name.
It's established now, isn't it? And we'll link to all of those. So
nice
to LinkedIn, Twitter, and your website. So Dave, thank you so much for joining us. It's been brilliant. It's been a pleasure. It's been a laugh, and I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Yeah, same here. Cheers, Giles. I've enjoyed it. It's been fun.
And thanks to everyone listening. Please continue to share and review. And thanks again to our good mate Ollie and Giselle for that lovely narration of dogs earlier.
Thanks a lot, you two.
To get in touch with questions to put to our guests or to give us feedback of any flavour, simply email us at hello@calltoaction.co.
I can't get no call to action. I can't get no call to action, but I try, and I try, and I try, and I try. I can't get no call to action. Oh, I can't get no call to action. Yeah, hey, hey.